Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. We are obviously producing and recording remotely. We are pleased to be joined once again. Usually it's in the studio, but we'll take him anywhere we can get him. He's Neal Shapiro, President and CEO, the WNET Group. Good to see you, Neal.
Good to see you, Steve, under these circumstances.
Yeah, let's talk about the circumstances. You have been a producer, a top-level TV media executive for more than a few years. The way we are producing now, the way NJTV News produces, the way MetroFocus produces, the way a lot of people are producing, is this what we're going to be doing for a while?
I think it is. I mean, I think it will take a while before we get back, but I think there's two things that have emerged. One is we prove we can do it. If you had told me that I can run my entire company with nobody in the office, and I mean nobody, I would have said it's impossible, but it works. And the other thing I think is the audience understands that the pictures aren't always as crisp. Sometimes there's a lag when we talk, but especially now, content is the most important thing. And I think what the audience is responding to, and they are in record numbers, is responsible, trusted content. That's really what public media has been all about.
You know, we've had lots of conversations. You've talked about this on the air for people who've seen you on WNET, NJTV. And by the way, let's everyone know what the WNET Group comprises. Lay that out because it's getting bigger all the time.
Sure. So it's Channel 13, WLIW 21, NJTV. Then it's our digital channels, World, Create, PBS Kids, All Arts, and NJTV.
And the New Jersey Spotlight part of the team as well.
Exactly.
We actually interviewed some of the folks from there today. They're playing an important role as well. Neal, the bigger picture role of public media in a global pandemic.
You know, I think what's really interesting is this plays, I think, to our strengths. And as Paula Kerger, the president of PBS, said, you know, we weren't created for this, but we're perfectly suited for this. In a time where people demand, I would say kind of a couple things. They want really trusted content they can get, in depth, with a lot of screaming and shouting, but real content. We're there for that. I think they want things that are distracting and that they can get lost in. And that's the kind of great arts and culture that we bring. And then I think especially for kids, there's a big role there. We have kids who can't go to school. Kids now are going to have challenges over the summer. And we stepped up in a big way in that regard too.
Yeah, let's follow up on that. One of the initiatives that our daughter Olivia checks out virtually every day when she doesn't have her regular schoolwork is the Learning Live initiative on NJTV. That's one of several. Talk about the actual teaching, using teachers, working with departments of education, whether it's in New York City or the state of New Jersey. Talk about that piece because that's incredibly innovative.
Yeah, and I have to say it was great to see it come together. This started in New Jersey. That we approached the Department of Education and the union and said
New Jersey Education Association as well, right?
Right, and we said to them, "Hey, this is a unique time. Could we do something together?" And they were both really intrigued, which doesn't always happen. But the teachers were totally excited. We had 250 teachers who wanted to volunteer, who were excited about this. The Department of Education was thrilled about this. And then the question was, how could we take just teaching and make it more exciting than just a teacher at a blackboard? And if you've watched any of this, you know the teachers have really stepped up. They're kids of TV too. So they've done all kinds of clever, fun, smart things to make it engaging, to make it audience responsive. They then tape on their laptops. It goes to our editors who do even more magic to it. And then it goes off to our mass control in Syracuse and then back down to the TVs in Syracuse. And I should say, when I'm not working, I have it on the corner of my eye, and I've learned more about fractions and soil composition and the Missouri Compromise than I think I ever knew before.
It's important stuff. By the way, go on the NJTV website, go on the WNET website as well, and find out about those educational instructional initiatives. Now, there's another issue that I wish you and I didn't have to talk about as much as we do, but we do, and that's money. Put this in context for people. You've often said this, but I'll allow you to say it instead of me. I spend more than half of my time raising money. You spend even more time than that raising money.
Yeah.
Explain to everyone what the COVID-19 situation has meant and will mean moving forward for public broadcasting.
Yeah. But look, first we should say this is a difficult time for everybody. And I want to make it clear that our hearts go out to everybody who's affected, who's lost their job. It's a tough time for everybody. But if you're wondering how it affects what we do in public media, it's a massive problem. You know, the biggest source of funds we have are viewers like you. That's why we say it. And all the projections are that's what's going to be hit hardest in this pandemic. It's not surprising as unemployment reaches 10, 20, 30%. People don't have that discretionary income. So on the one hand, we're face a loss there. We face a lot of our underwriters, companies who obviously aren't open for business, are not going to have money to help support us. And even people who have real resources have seen their wealth diminished by a quarter, a third, so they're less likely to give. And at the same time, as we just talked about, we want to and need to do more. So education, we're doing all these things we didn't do before, engaging teachers. We're now thinking about what we can do over the summer and perhaps into the fall. That's a whole new demand on us that we didn't have before, and new resources that we need. Our news team, NJTV, doing a fabulous job, but working remotely. So a lot more different expenses, including protective equipment, things we didn't have to do, and doing the broadcast in a different way. That's more expensive. And then as we try to get a lot of our material licensed, some of it we're re-upping to bring back, that's more expensive. So we're seeing our expenses go up and our resources go down. So if you see you and I on TV more than usual saying it's hard times, right, I think I want people to understand it truly is.
And by the way, you mentioned NJTV News. I'm not going to call it the sister program because it's not. It's what it is and stands on its own. MetroFocus, a synopsis of it and why it especially matters with 3 great anchors and a terrific team there. It's a different kind of broadcast than NJTV News, but no less important. Go ahead.
So MetroFocus is, especially this pandemic, is doing in-depth interviews, 1 or 2 a day, about some different aspect of the pandemic in the tri-state area, a lot about particularly the metropolitan area. Giving a chance to, even as we get coverage here, you don't get to hear the controller talk for 15 or 25 minutes about what's happening. Right. You don't get to hear members of the city council talk about that. And this issue is so complicated, so interrelated on so many issues: finance, transportation, planning, education, commerce, business. So trying to look at all those angles and giving people real time to talk about it. And if I could just add just how proud I am of the NJTV team, because they called me one day and said, a member of we think someone may have tested positive. I said, you can't go back in the building. They said, okay. They got in there that night and they haven't missed a broadcast since. And we had done some planning. We had planned for another 9/11. Like, what would have happened if we couldn't get into our building for a day or two?
Right.
We didn't plan for, how about if we couldn't get into anything, anywhere for months? And the team figured it out. So I'm incredibly proud of them.
Yeah, it's impressive across the board. And by the way, we look forward to being able to get back into that studio when it's safe for everyone, NJTV studio, and also the Tisch WNET studio in New York. Neal, before I let you go, you also did our sister program, the sister and brother program, it doesn't exist. The Lessons in Leadership program we did, it's a podcast. Yes. And I'd asked you at the time, several weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, the most significant leadership lesson you've learned. In this, mid-May as we're taping, the most significant leadership lesson you've learned in the age of COVID-19 is?
I think it's to be totally honest with people about what you don't know. I think people respond to leaders who say what they know and what they don't know, and to be honest about what you don't know and how you'll respond to information when you get it. I think if you look at the leaders across the country, if you look at the ratings have been highest when people say, here's what I know, here's what I don't know, here's my plan, I'm going to adjust as I get more information. Because nobody's lived through anything quite like this.
Well, on that note, I also want to say the leadership's also about being accessible. And I remember calling Neal soon after it became clear that the world was going to be very different. And I said, Neal, we have to produce, but we don't know exactly how to do it. And we brainstormed and he gave us some ideas, and we're repurposing some old programming that's more important than ever before. We're doing this, and we're doing the best we can to serve the people in the tri-state community. Neal Shapiro, the president and CEO of the WNET Group. Neal, thank you so much for being with us and being our leader. Thank you, Neal.
Stay safe, be well.
Same to you. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, the Russell Berry Foundation, R.W.J. Barnabas Health, New Jersey Sharing Network, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, PSE&G, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Gibbons PC, and by United Airlines. Promotional support provided by AM 970 The Answer, and by Meadowlands Chamber. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.